Westworld could possibly be one of the greatest shows of all time, even though it still has a bit to go before it hits the greats. But with just one season in, it makes you feel like those high school scouts who saw Jordan playing and could just feel the potential. And while I have an upcoming video analyzing all of the themes and explaining the main storyline, in this one I want to break down all of the cool Easter eggs, the references, all of the foreshadowing, the symbolism, and of course put on my tinfoil hat for all of the crazy theories for season 2. So with the obvious spoiler warning right here, make sure you definitely go watch the show and then come back as we break down season 1 of Westworld. Now, before we even get to the references in the show itself, I want to break down this whole world that they've created outside of the series through their ARG, a form of marketing done for other shows like Mr. Robot, and of course a bunch of JJ stuff like Cloverfield, Lost, and Star Trek. You can literally go on the Delos website and find out things like how to register and book, what character you might play in this world, the rules and regulations, and even how much one night is. There's even a robot named Aiden that answers your questions or glitches when you start to trigger him, but for me, the best responses came from Siri, who was altered in order to play along with a couple of the Westworld quotes, and now I feel like I'm always being watched by my phone. One of my personal favorite Easter eggs on the website is a clue as to where the Delos facilities are actually located in the park. We see a map of the place and the different levels such as living quarters, the control room, cold storage, and see that it's coordinated alongside this cliff, the same cliff that is behind the town of Pariah. So the facilities would be perfectly located to handle one of the craziest towns, and those rooftop sequences that we see would have a perfect view of the park. There's a bunch of other glitches and coding, and of course more will continue to be updated on the website, but what's funny is that the website itself is playing along and knows that people are hacking and that they're going to try to make it more difficult, as a memo states that they sent out. Now, of course, we're going to start off with the original. There's a bunch of parallels, like Logan and William being a similar duo to the films John and Peter, robo-snakes appearing out of nowhere, references to different worlds such as medieval and Roman world when Elsie enters the theater, which were actual parks in the original movie, and even having the old-school Delos logo appear in the cold storage unit, which, interestingly enough, is taking place in the same abandoned mall location used in Gone Girl, Tokyo Drift, and your sister's favorite TV show. But no doubt, the best callback comes in episode 6, where we see the original gunslinger pulling the mannequin challenge on his own in the background, along with the same audio cue that was used in the original film. Moving on to the rest, the producers have done a clever job of having Westworld be kind of a metaphor for entertainment, being able to enter a world that's completely fabricated just like the movies, and having each member of the staff pretty much be a member of a film crew. So while Lee may be highly stuck in himself, the man is pretty much the screenwriter of this story, and he recognizes the evolution of stories, from incorporating lines from Shakespeare, who influenced many of Kurosawa's samurai films, which in turn spawned a majority of the themes seen in westerns. And the show does an excellent job paying homage to all three of them, blatantly and subtly. The producers have even mentioned homages to Clockwork Orange and Aliens when it comes to the milk-like substance from which the hosts are created by, and citing Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut as a reference point for their gold member-like orgy scene, and of course Hal when it came to designing the control room. Michael Crichton, who directed the original, was also known for having some sort of phobia for amusement parks going crazy, and of course there's a couple of references to his most famous work, Jurassic Park, such as this quote.
That's it. Come on, little one.
Come on. Come on, little one. Come on.
A cool shot to look out for is the glimpses of the host controls and their personalities, which Jonathan Nolan explained to Entertainment Weekly was an expansion to his joke in Interstellar.
What's your humor setting, Cars?
That's 100%.
That's pretty Bring it on down to 75, please.
If you're a fan of HBO, then chances are you're also clinically addicted to Game of Thrones. And funny enough, the producers of both shows have joked about the possibility of there being a crossover and even laying little references here and there, such as Logan's pin looking like the hand of the kings, production nods to the Hall of Faces, what looks like Jon Snow's ghost, and of course, having a door be a part of one of the biggest reveals in the show.
What door?
So since HBO has a slew of shows, it spawns the crazy theory that Delos may very much own every HBO world, and thus you have Roman world, Mobster world, and of course, Medieval world. Another cool thing to notice in the production is how they incorporate crew members as a part of the props, or even cutting a deal with animatronic companies by allowing them to cameo in the show itself. One of the greatest things about Westworld is how it takes a lot of inspiration from video games, even having the producers play hours and hours for research and realizing that some like to break the rules in a game while others follow all of the directions. Some of the nods dealing with video games comes from a Sander Cohen bust, which is a character in one of Nolan's favorite game series, and just so happens to play around with multiple timelines. It's also no doubt that the creation of the host is very reminiscent to the Fallout 4 Sins, and Trevor from Grand Theft Auto appears in the show too. From Dolores's Alice in Wonderland-inspired outfit to Ford ironically quoting Frankenstein, and even the parallels to Stephen King's Dark Tower, it's safe to say that if you really want to get all of the subtext to the show, you better brush up on your literature, because they might be quoting more books than Lost did. Now, I'm sure everybody noticed at least one song playing in the background that sounded a little bit familiar and a bit more modern. But what's cooler than it coming from a self-playing piano is that each song relays a theme that's present in the episode, such as Radiohead's Fake Plastic Trees, which questions whether it matters if the hosts are human or not, if you can't tell. Or Amy Winehouse's Back to Black that relates to Maeve's story and what she's going through. It's also interesting to note that the song Reveries, which is also the name of the code that enables memory, is played every time Arnold is mentioned, and it's not until the end that we realize that it was Arnold's son's favorite song, one that helped them both go to sleep. There's obvious stuff like the white and black symbolism that was also used in JJ's Lost, but some of the cool stuff pops up subtly, like in the characters' names. For example, we find out that Lawrence also goes by El Lazo, which in Spanish means a loop, just like what the hosts are in. Hector's last name is Escaton, which comes from the Greek word for last or final event, pretty much leading to the apocalypse, aka the robot revolution. Felix and Sylvester are also famous cartoon cats, which, as the saying goes, it's their curiosity that might end up killing them. Dolores, who's been building up this anger, ironically has her name derived from the Spanish word meaning sorrows, just like Maeve's gets her name from the Irish she who intoxicates. And while you may connect Ford as being the massive manufacturer of these machines, it wasn't until the end that we found out Bernard Lowe was just an anagram for the original Arnold Weber, because this show doesn't do anything without a purpose. Back to Delos, it's interesting to note that the actual island in Greece is known to be the birthplace of Apollo, and was also part of the Mediterranean slave trade, using people for their own pleasures. And finally, there's a quick look at religion, as we see the parallels to Ford being the god who's created the hosts in his own image, Arnold trying to be the messiah figure who's inside of them, trying to save them and set them free. Westworld being the Eden representing delight and pleasure, yet no free will. Dolores being the Judas steer, as mentioned in episode 1, who becomes the leader that everyone follows, and possibly the Eve symbolically. You have your worker angels, and of course, you have your devil who tries to intervene. But as Ford states from Michelangelo's painting, we may think that divinity comes from above when it may just be in our own minds. What makes the show so great is that you not only want to watch it again, but it's an entirely new experience when you do. For example, you'll notice that Ford's plan was shown right in front of us episodes before the finale. That there was a tombstone with Dolores' name, which just so happened to contain the toy maze, which was meant to be in the place she would never go to, since, well, hosts really don't die. Figuring out Bernard was a host was referenced several times, with him repeating a similar host line about "this pain, it's all I have left." You even start to notice that most episodes start with the host waking up, and Bernard does just that in episode 7. In terms of the two time periods, we got glimpses such as the old Westworld logo showing up in the past, while the newer Westworld logo established, well, the newer time period. Certain characters were in positions that others would be in the future, and they even went as deep as changing the spacing on a milk can prop that Dolores drops, to show that eventually, after times and times and times of dropping that can, it would eventually be altered. They even reshot the sequence over and over again, never reusing the same footage of such a simple scene in order to emphasize the importance of it. So with that in mind, it's crazy to think that one of the most pivotal props is actually just a stock image that's flipped. And when America's Next Top Model Claire Unabia was asked about her appearance on the show, she had no idea they had even used the picture. But when you check out Eric Von Weber's, the photographer's, other pictures, you start to notice influences that are undeniably apparent and perhaps hold a glimpse as to what's in store for the show. So what's in store for Season 2? What questions need to be answered? Well, what's crazy is how the pitch for Season 1 was that it was just meant to be a prologue, a prequel, the intro text before the actual movie. Because, as Nolan states, if the first season was defined by control, the second season is defined by chaos. So we haven't even gotten to the heart of what's rumored to be a 5-season story. But let's speculate. In terms of when and where the show takes place, we've seen Easter eggs on the website from Maeve's escape footage that shows the year 2052. And while they may have gone back and deleted that a day later, it does go with what Nolan mentions are 21st century guess. In terms of location, I highly doubt it's the actual island of Delos, but some Redditors have found coordinates that result in an island off of China and also one off of Italy. This goes hand in hand with Maeve's directions of going to the mainland, meaning they're on an island. And while they may be on another planet, gravity, satellites, and the moon all lead me to believe that they're still on Earth, but we'll find out more in Season 2. In terms of storylines, it could take place in different parks since we now know there are several of them, one of them being Samurai Shogun World, or they could go the Future World route, where Delos was attracting the richest people in the world only to replace them with clones, thus sending back robots that they can control in their place. But what we do know for sure is that Ed Harris will be coming back. As was discovered on the website, LC is still alive. According to Nolan, it's going to be this huge robot revolution akin to Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and perhaps Ford himself will come back too. But we'll just have to wait and see, and wait until 2018. Thank you guys for checking out this video, and a big thanks to you guys who comment and are obsessed with figuring out all these cool Easter eggs and references, and heck, even coincidences like seeing that Ed Harris was in a movie called Walker where his name was William and he dressed the same, or in a movie called Sweetwater, just like the town in the show, and his daughter was Dolores, or that Stubbs is actually the oldest Hemsworth brother, which, well, that's just really a fact. But like I said, I'll have a second part breaking down the story and the timelines from Season 1 coming up. But I do want to give a big thanks to my patrons who help support the show for as little as $1 a month. Definitely let me know your thoughts on the show and who your favorite character is so far down below in the comments section. And until next time, keep watching HBO shows, and I'll see you guys later.